This is a live presentation of the Titan Upload Network.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. An early Merry Christmas to you all, and welcome to the show. Once again, we come into the show with expectations high. We're hoping to get a Victory Monday because I have not got to rung the Victory Monday bell in over 4 weeks now, and it's just starting to piss me off at this point. So, realistically, we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to unpack and unload. And I don't know anybody better right now than I could bring in the show than our good friend Tyler from Titans Time Podcast. Tyler, let's waste no time. Welcome to the show. There is just so much to get off our chests. It has been an embarrassing 4 weeks, to say the least. There's been just so much problems to go over and just so many things that we have to talk about from the offensive standpoint, the defensive standpoint. So, Tyler, realistically, are we just going to continue this headway and just keep nosediving, or is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
I mean, if there is a light at the end of the tunnel, we got the Texans this next week. But ever since the Crossroads comment, I feel like we took a wrong turn at Albuquerque and have ended up in a very bad spot. I mean, like we were talking here before the show, and we're still in the driver's seat. But at the same time, I do find myself kind of asking the question. I'm like, I really don't want the Jaguars to win the South. I want the Titans to win the South again. But at the same time, I'm not here to watch this team win the South. I want to see this team win the Super Bowl. And right now, with how this team's playing, I'm just like, even if we squeak into the playoffs, is this team going to be able to actually kind of get that hot streak that teams get going into the playoffs and try to make a run? And just right now, I'm not seeing it.
And I mean, great points you bring up. I mean, we've been battling injuries. We've been battling inconsistency on the offensive play calling. We've been battling each other, it seems like, the last few weeks, especially most everybody on Titans Twitter, just trying to find one simple solution where there's many to just pick through. And everybody's coming in the chat right now. So got to give a shout out to everybody. Lou Man, of course, always on the show. Good seeing you too, buddy. Very happy to get you in. Shout out to Lee from the 615 Podcast. Good seeing you, man. Definitely enjoyed the show that you've got with Teron Davenport. That's something that we know that you've been doing real good on. Dude's been getting some guests. I'll give the guy a shot. I will give the guy some props right there. Lou, man, I mean, Super Bowl, no. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, Lou, man. I mean, Super Bowl this year, it's just not gonna happen. They don't have the ponies. Right now, you need to lower your expectations at this point. So if we hit any point somewhere to try and finish the season out and get the division, I mean, that's all we can do right now. But right now, we need to win a damn game, and that's the problem. So consistency is going to be one of those things. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Shout out to your wifey for joining the show. Always a great supporter. And yes, I mean, it's about a copy and repeat situation, Kerry. I mean, realistically, he hasn't said anything that I didn't know he was going to say. I mean, I really don't even pay attention to the Monday breakdowns where he does the press conferences because it's the same stuff. I mean, you can't shock me with anything that I already know. And, I mean, before we get into top news, Tyler, I mean, we keep talking about offensive inconsistency. We talk about injuries. We talk about just the locker room not meshing at this point. As you said, the Crossroads comment, it seems like they're lost. There are no roads at this point. It's basically the desert. So, realistically, with the Texans coming up this week, what's one important key factor you have to say that is going to be determining what this team's going to do going forward?
Determining factor for them going forward. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think as far as just going forward over the next couple of weeks, and even this Texans game coming up, because we were talking about this before the show started. The Texans have been playing competitive football as of late. I mean, two teams in the Cowboys who, for most of the season, have looked like one of the top teams that could easily get hot and make a deep playoff run, to the Chiefs who, that it's the Chiefs. They've played them tough, and our offense all year long hasn't been able to produce like the Chiefs or Cowboys. So if the Texans are playing that good against them and actually putting up points on them, what are we going to do? But I think the biggest thing going forward is going to be Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he's hurt that right ankle again, and if he can't go, I know we beat the Texans with Malik Willis last time. He's got more confidence about him now, but with just everything piling together, I think the biggest factor right now is Tannehill's health. If Tannehill can go out there and play, we have our best chance to actually kind of make a run to get into the playoffs and maybe, again, like you said, I don't see us being a Super Bowl team, but best chance we got is Tannehill's health. And they're going to have to – this team's going to have to refocus. And I figured, week after week, getting their asses kicked, they would have already had their wake-up call, but it just seems like it hasn't really happened yet for them.
And I mean, we'll definitely have to bring up some more as the show goes on. I mean, we can't just explode too much because we won't have anything to talk about. So, trying to sit on some of these and keep it in our back pockets. Get into the comments real quick. 615 offensively, we've had little to no consistency, and we've talked about the sack on 3rd and 9. And God, it seems like there's always a sack on some 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 11 or whatever. But it just happens too consistently and too much at this point. And he also brings up, I sat down with Ron Davenport this afternoon, and he said the lucky number is 3 wins to win the division. And I mean, if that's the goal, then that's the goal. But realistically, it's going to be a take it one game at a time situation. And as corny as that sounds, that's all you can do at this point. But as I said, we got a lot to talk about tonight, and I don't want to just blow it all in a 7-minute standing. So we've got too much football news to get to. So let's just catch our breaths and refocus. We'll save all that for a little bit later. So Tyler, let's go ahead and get into some top news of the week.
Let's do it.
Of course, getting ready and hitting it on. I'm Michael Bishop. Welcome to the Power Hour. Let's hit it. And of course, one of my favorite stories right now is just kids that come out of nowhere and start dominating at just an elite level. Now, I'm not saying Brock Purdy's the next Tom Brady, but I have to admit his first 2 games have been just quite amazing for the fact that he fits in well with this system and that he's dominating, especially just playing behind a really good offensive line and with the weapons that he has. So, Tyler, the realest question I can ask, Brock Purdy, is he a one-hit wonder, or is it something we could see long-term?
I think it's something we could see long-term. I mean, hey, Mr. Irrelevant has suddenly become very relevant. And whether it be the offensive scheme or whatever, the guy is going out there and getting it done. And, of course, like you mentioned, good offensive line, good play calling, and having playmakers around, that kind of makes a quarterback's job a lot easier. And, the 49ers, they have these pieces locked up. So I think going forward, they're going to have, a real kind of, they're going to have a QB, uh, I don't want to say controversy, but they may have a tough time because they spent that high pick on Trey Lance. He was out there, got injured. Now Garoppolo got injured. Purdy's come in and hasn't really missed a beat. So I think when you look forward, even beyond the rest of this year, 49ers, they're going to have to decide what they want to do here. And I mean, it just seems like a pretty good fit to me.
And I mean, it's a good problem to have, a good stable of quarterbacks. But at this point, you got to ask the question, who fits best in Kyle Shanahan's offense? I mean, is it the youth of Trey Lance? Is it the experience of Jimmy Garoppolo? Or just the unexpected, just strong ability of leadership from Brock Purdy? I mean, which of the three quarterbacks do you feel could potentially just lock up this job, potentially heading into 2023?
I honestly think just right now, and this could be recency bias, but I think Purdy is going to be the best fit going forward. Um, yeah, you have the experience with Garoppolo, but at the same time, I think a good way to look at this going forward is 49ers in the playoffs. What's he able to do? Because, like you mentioned, you have the youth of Trey Lance, but you also have that with Purdy. And if he fits the system better, give the man the keys to the car and let him go.
And the fact that he's jumped in that car and hit the gas pedal and not looked back at this point is even more impressive. Mm-hmm. I do have to ask on one final point. The 49ers will have 3 games remaining with the Commanders, the Raiders, and the Cardinals. So they're definitely vying for a playoff spot at this point, and consistency is going to come down to these 3 games. I think that Commanders game, and right now the Raiders even playing well, it's going to be a tough 2-game out of 3 stretch for them. So realistically, what's the playoff window for this team? Do you think that they'll have a long run, or do you think it's just going to be a one-and-done situation?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not going to say one and done for them, just because this team's defense is so good, and they have the playmakers on offense. I'm not going to say that they're going to make a Super Bowl run, but I think that they will. I can see them at least making it to the divisional round and putting up one hell of a fight in that round. And I think the ceiling might be the NFC Championship game. But I think that they'll for sure get in, win in the wild card round, and making it to the divisional round.
I do think it will be an interesting situation, especially monitoring Deebo Samuel, if he'll be able to continue to play without any holdup. So I feel that's something you'll have to keep a close eye on. But to me, I think Brock Purdy definitely has a high ceiling at this point. He fits the offense. He has the intangibles that Kyle Shanahan looks for in a quarterback. So realistically, it's hard to pick anybody going forward next year. But I do feel that it's a good problem for them to have. And not to mention, really, they only locked in Garoppolo on a 1-year deal. So really, it's more of a rental. So I think in the long term of things, you're looking at Purdy and potentially Trey Lance battling for the starting job.
Right.
And getting to a few of our comments, it's Jimmy J. Shout out to Lou Man, as always, giving us some good comments. Shout out to Ryan Harris as well. Good seeing you on the show, Ryan. And Ryan's got some things in the works, so definitely keep an eye on for that. We know he's got something dropping real soon. So if you love the Jump Pass podcast, which we do here on the Power Hour and of course on the Titan Upload Network, make sure you check that out. So little tidbit drop right there for y'all. So glad Ryan's getting back here. We're very glad to get him and everything going again. Also, news, it's very interesting right now that there are apparently some whispers going around that Mike Tomlin could potentially be a candidate if a team's interested to make a trade for his services. So it's a story that's been circulating around, I believe, Pro Football Talk, and I believe it's going to be an interesting situation if that is true. But of course, that being hearsay at this point, I do think it's an interesting topic of piece because the last coach we had in a trade was Herm Edwards, as far back as I can remember. And unfortunately, it didn't work out in that situation. But I do think with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, it's interesting because you have a guy that's been with a franchise for going on about a decade and a half. So maybe a fresh start somewhere could be in the cards for him, and maybe it might rejuvenate him. So, Tyler, realistically, could you see this potentially happening next year?
I'm just going to be honest with you. It's hard for me to imagine him coaching elsewhere just because, like you mentioned, he's been with the Steelers franchise for so long now. And I'm trying to think of where he might even could end up. And, yeah, there's always that possibility, but I think he's still going to be with the Steelers. I mean, this is going to be his first losing season, I believe, in how long?
Roughly about 15 seasons since he's been there.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to see the Steelers, giving him up to anywhere because they know what he can do. And the Steelers team, they've got some young talent. So just need time to kind of move on from Big Ben and get their quarterback situation under control. And, they got Pickett there, another young guy, like I mentioned. So it's just hard to see him going anywhere.
And Ryan Harris brings up a good point. Never had a losing season in his tenure.
I thought that might be the case, but I couldn't remember for sure.
And Lou Main bringing up an interesting location in Cleveland. I doubt that really much, Lou Man. Pittsburgh would rather burn down the city than trade Mike Tomlin to Cleveland. But
yeah.
I will play devil's advocate and give a scenario where I think he could fit best if this team was willing to pull the trigger. Now, I don't see Pete Carroll being at Seattle for long. But realistically, let's just say that he decides, I think I've had enough. And somehow Seattle has an opening. So Seattle's been pretty much a gambling kind of team when it comes to these situations. And I think that might be a pretty good fit if they'd want to pull the trigger.
I could see that. Up until you mentioned them, I hadn't really thought about that, but that could be interesting. And I see Ryan, he brings up a good point with Washington. So, and I guess that was the thing for me, trying to think of some other teams that might make a move, that would want to make a move, and those are two spots that I could see.
I mean, I like the Washington pick from Ryan, so shout out to that. That was a really good situation. That's a really good situation to go into. I do think Seattle's a good one, but Washington, especially when they get this franchise sold eventually, you need a revamp kind of situation. You need a fresh face. Whoever ends up getting the team, realistically, they need to do whatever they can to get this fan base excited. And I think that's just a shot in the arm that they would need.
Definitely.
Carrie given a question. Thoughts on Sammy Watkins? Can he block?
Yeah. How good is his blocking? I mean, I just need to know, can he block guys in the back? Because that's what we're looking for in our good blocking wide receivers. So
as long as he's a blocker, I think that he's got a chance. But realistically, I mean, we've already brought in 2 other receivers in the last 2 years where we thought we'd see him on the field, and that never happened.
Yeah, true. Very true.
It might be more, but I've lost count. So,
yeah, I mean, at this point, though, would it hurt?
why the hell not? I mean, he's got to be better than Dennis Daly. I'd already said I'd take a trash tote that had a jersey on to block. I mean, at least it's slow, but it slows somebody up at that point.
I mean, I'm just gonna say I feel like we can go find just a big guy off the street, and he honestly couldn't play any worse than what Daly's been playing. So
True. But speaking of picking somebody off the street, apparently that's still not working so well for the Indianapolis Colts, as they've suffered one of their most humiliating losses in NFL history, getting devastated from a 33-point comeback, going into overtime and losing to the Minnesota Vikings in humiliating fashion. Tyler, can we just say that anybody that doesn't have the basic fundamental skills for learning how to coach or coaching in an NFL game, it's not really a good idea to just bring somebody off that's only basically had high school experience. I mean, can we call this experiment what it is, just dead now?
I think so. I mean, there's just been too many things, and I haven't really. I've watched a couple of the Colts games since he's been there, and just from the couple that I've watched, like you said, not having the experience coaching at the NFL level, just having that high school experience, and you see certain situations where, hey, if he would have been calling, he has 3 timeouts, and if he would have been calling them earlier in this situation, they would have had more time to try and make something happen. I can't remember exact. I know it was one game. I can't remember exactly who it was against, but he's just sitting there on these 3 timeouts and not calling them, and I'm like, come on. And I'm glad to see the Colts making history for the wrong reason, because leading up to this past game for them, the biggest news headline was that Jeff Saturday was going to be the first coach with the name Saturday to coach a Saturday NFL game. And guess what? He made it a memorable one, because he was the first coach with the name Saturday to coach an NFL game on a Saturday, and just so happened blow the biggest lead on that Saturday. Like, that's pretty much been the highlight of my weekend. So, I mean,
which, I mean, realistically, that game basically takes the lead from the former game that was in first place from the playoff wildcard game in '93 with the Bills and then Houston Oilers. So I guess maybe they should send maybe flowers. A few more comments. Ryan Harris. Watkins has an injury history longer than I-40, so he fits perfectly well with the Titans. Well, somewhat. I mean, he's going to walk on the field, but I don't see him walking off healthily. I mean, that's just a problem we continue to have. Brian also brings up the game against the Steelers. And, I mean, with Jeff Saturday, it's like, yeah, I get it. It was an interesting scenario to bring in somebody that the fans like, that they can continue to keep filling butts in seats. But this is over. Let's call it what it is. It's over. This man is not capable and does not have the capacity to coach an NFL team. He doesn't even have the right personnel around him to make these decisions, and it's just consistently hilarious to me at this point. And poor Matt Ryan. Poor Matt Ryan. I can't feel any more bad at this dude than I could already right now. It is hilarious to me. He now owns the greatest upset in Super Bowl history with the comeback against the Patriots, and now he owns the greatest comeback in regular season. So good Lord. I don't know whether to laugh or cry at the guy.
I mean, at this point, no one's going to remember him for his MVP season or anything. When you hear Matt Ryan, you know, he thought the worst of it was going to be the 28-3 lead that was blown. You know, if he could have looked forward in time and seen this, he probably would have retired before this year and just been like, nope, you know what? I'm good. I've already got one bad blemish on my career. I don't need another.
Lou Man bringing up an interesting name. Ryan agreeing with Tyler. Lou Man, that's a Christmas miracle, and I think you're getting a little greedy on that one. So,
and
we had one run on that. I don't think we're getting two.
No, with Saturday, I honestly believe now, looking back at it, that the only reason he was brought in was because Irsay wanted to keep the Colts in the headlines. I mean,
that's true.
Because if you promote someone that's already there, like, yeah, that might be news for like a week, but bringing someone like Saturday in, that gives them something to talk about the rest of the year, no matter how it goes. So
it does, but I feel Jim Irsay's on a slippery slope with what his father was, and the resemblance is just almost uncanny at this point. He's hitting headlines for all the wrong reasons. And at this juncture, the Colts better find somebody with experience because, I mean, if they want to hire Jeff Saturday for real, I'm mad at you.
Nope. Go right ahead.
But speaking of coaching hires, one that's definitely been getting a lot of attention to Steve Wilks with the Carolina Panthers. He is definitely in the running for the head coaching job for the next season permanently. And a lot of whispers say that might be what the Panthers do. So, Tyler, is it the right move or should the Panthers go in a different direction?
I think at this point, it's probably the right move. I mean, since taking over just this year, you can kind of see a difference with this team. They started 1-4 with him. They've won 4 games, and even the ones that they haven't won, they've been more competitive in. And aside from the Bengals game, and hey, he's a guy that's already been there. Kind of, me and you were talking about this before the show. He knows the place. He's been there. So why not give him a chance to be the guy and see what he can do?
And I'm with you on that. I mean, the Arizona job that he took over in the first place, I felt he was destined to fail. They wanted to get him out of the door because it was just a last-minute kind of hire situation. And, they wanted to make a splash, but that's just what they ended up finishing on. And it was unfair to him because I really felt that he had the capability to be a good head coach. And once again, it's just a situation where they get him in, it's a one and done, and they try and just hit a big name, which it's already shown that even Cliff Kingsbury might be on his way out. So the Cardinals are kind of just sleeping with what they made with. But I feel in some instances where you've got just so much turmoil going on, and consistency is something that they need right now. And the Panthers are in dire need of just a familiar face, like you said, someone that's going to consistently keep this team going. And I think they're on the right track. They've already had a pretty good little win streak. The last few weeks have been a little wishy-washy, but that's expected. That's growing pains. I do feel looking at his future that it's the best move for the Panthers long term.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, what you can, and I see Ryan saying that he thinks the NFC South is helping him possibly keeping that job too. And
Agreed.
yeah, like with how the NFC South is right now, I mean, it's still anyone's ball game. So, if maybe the Panthers, he finds a way to rally them for these last 3 weeks and make some noise.
And they're definitely making noise in a weak NFC South, but realistically, love his chances there. And I think the Panthers are going to roll the dice and take the interim tag off and go forward by making him the head coach next year. And Blue Man, I mean, we always talk before the show. I mean, we got to get our ideas together. It's just one of those things. It's not that we're trying to get ahead of you guys. It's just realistically, you just got to formulate ideas and how the show goes. Not trying to hide anything from you, I promise.
No, look, we're not telling you that you're on the line when you're not really on the line. We're trying to make sure everyone's on the same page here.
Yeah, we try to keep this professional, at least the best that we can.
Just wait till we talk about this loss more.
Oh Lord, we're gonna get there soon, but not yet. We gotta let this breathe a little. But while we're breathing, it's Monday Night Football. And of course, we got a pretty good matchup for you. The Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams with a revitalized Baker Mayfield. This will be a pretty interesting matchup. Tyler, let's hear your take on this. Who do you like in this game?
I like the Packers. Baker, crazy story for last week. I mean, coming in, not even being there a day, and leading them for a game-winning touchdown. But I don't see the Packers defense making the same mistakes. And, Baker's got more time with the team now, but come on, it's Baker Mayfield.
And I mean, short take, but I'll take it. So, in terms of quarterback play right now, which quarterback has to play their best game tonight?
As far as which quarterback has to play their best game, I feel like it's got to be Baker that has to play his best game. Just because, for him, this shows, hey, I can go out there and do what I need to do, but at the same time, because he kind of played his way out of the Panthers spot, and I was actually shocked when they released him. But I think there's more on Baker because he's younger. Rodgers, he's already up there in age, doesn't really have much more that he has to prove. So, if he has a bad game, he can shrug it off if he wants to. Baker still wants to have this career for years to come. So I feel like he's got more pressure to have the better game.
And so to cap off top news, of course, we've got to get our picks in. Tyler, we'll let you go first. Everybody in the chat, let us know who you like, and I will go to finish it out.
All right, we're doing score predictions on this.
We can throw scores in there.
All right, I'm going to take the Packers, and I'm going to say I'll go 28 to 20.
All right, we'll go with that. And looks like Clue Man's going to go with the Rams on this one. So go on with the hometown favorite. And I think, in my mindset, I'm really back and forth on this one because right now I think it's going to come down to defense. And defense for me, I think is going to be the key point here. So, I'm with Ryan on this one. He's going to call the Packers winning it. The Baker story was cute. It's time for some analysis. So, Ryan, you basically took the words out of my mouth. I think the Packers are going to get back to basics. I think they're going to get the job done. Their defense is going to be the key here. So I'll go 28-17 Packers.
I like it.
Got to go with the basics. You don't have to go scoregami. You don't have to go scoregami on all these.
And I mean, really, the Rams, they've been another team this year where injuries have just kind of piled up and hurt them. And I feel like right now, out of the two teams, the Packers defense is probably more consistent right now than the Rams. So
I agree.
Like you said, if it comes down to which defense is playing better, I have to give the edge to the Packers there. So,
I mean, it's the defense is going to be the key factor here, and the Rams just haven't had that kind of suffering defense that they had this year or last year. I mean, but I'll just go with that. And I mean, realistically, I just think it's one of those games the Packers are going to do well on the road anyway. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, I've got a new game to play, and I hope you're all excited for it. I came up with it yesterday. I'm pretty proud of it, so I hope it gets a little bit of stress off you, and that we can just vent a little bit before we get to Titans and Chargers breakdown before we finish this show out. I'm Michael Bishop with the Power Hour, and we'll be back in 30.
What's on the Titan Upload Network? Why, some of the best live streaming interactive shows giving you Tennessee Titans and NFL highlights and information throughout the week. It's important to us to make sure that you have a great viewing experience and get all the Get down to the nearest computer with YouTube and find all the shows that you've been looking for.
The following includes Titans for Life, Titan Upload, The Power Hour, Titans Rossi, and Brian Johannes. Watch them today.
Exclusively on the Titan Upload Network.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us, as always, on this Monday evening. A very early Merry Christmas to you, and a Merry Christmas to you, Tyler, for joining us on the show as well. So, great having you. Always love getting your insight. You're a fan favorite here, so we definitely had to make sure we get you on every regular season when we get the chance to. Make sure you give a shout-out to our fans on the show. Let them know where to find all the great content you put out.
for sure. And man, always a pleasure coming on your show. Love, anytime you hit me up, hey, you free for a show? Yeah, man. I love coming on here, interacting with you and, your following, and a Merry Christmas, early Merry Christmas to you as well. I'm sure we'll probably be talking as Christmas gets closer. But yeah, for following me, you can check me out on YouTube and the audio version of the podcast. Just type in Titans Time Podcast, audio version, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, social media on Twitter at Titans_time, TikTok. Matt, that's where more of my content has been lately. Been hard to find time to sit down to do some of the YouTube stuff, but hoping to get back to that. But TikTok at Titans Time, Instagram Titans Time Podcast, and Facebook Titans Time.
And definitely check that out. He's always putting out great content every week and always keeping you incited and informed as the regular season goes on. And of course, guys, we are a part of the Titan Upload Network. Make sure you follow all the members of the Titan Upload Network, whether it be Titans Rossi, Titan Upload, Ryan Harris of the Jump Pass Podcast, our draft expert, Brian Johannes, or of course, our good friend, James of Titans for Life, one of our biggest insiders to give some pretty big scoops. We've been busy over at the network, and the guys have been getting some ideas together, and we got a lot coming up, guys. So Hope you all are excited for some new things coming up. And don't forget to follow us, as always, on all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at the Power Hour 615. We're here to entertain you. So just remember that as you watch the show, that's what we'd like to do. Well, Tyler, I've come up with a new game, and I think it's going to help everybody vent a little of the frustration we've had for the last few weeks. So let me just give a quick introduction. This game is basically a should we fire or keep the person in play? And I like to call this game Go or No. Victim on Go or No is Keith Carter, the offensive line coach. And I know a lot of us have a lot of thoughts on there, and we'll definitely take some of your thoughts on the chat as well. Tyler, you are up. Keith Carter, Go or No?
If a guy can look at me and tell me that he truly believes Dennis Daly for his offensive line is doing some good things, I don't trust that man. So he got to go for me. I mean, just get out the door. Go. You can't tell me that you really thought Dennis Daly was doing good stuff when the guy can get chip help and is still too slow to stop the edge rusher.
You've been reading through my notes, so get to the chat before I give my answer. Lou Man says no. Ryan Harris says get him out of here. And I'm torn on this one because on the jump side, there are some of the offensive linemen that have done well. I think Nicholas Petit-Frere is one of them. I don't think he's done fantastic, but he's done well for a rookie in his position just to get thrown out there. But I am with you on the Dennis Daly situation. I don't want somebody sitting there and bold-faced lying to me that Dennis Daly is the best offensive lineman in there, because we all know that's not real. And I've seen countless people with countless interpretations what could block better than Dennis Daly. A parked car, a brick wall, a cat chasing a red light. I could go on. I mean, I try and keep this an hour show, but I mean, we'll be here all night. And I know a lot of you probably got work, so realistically, I'm not going to keep you there. So my take right now is Keith Carter, you've got to go. I will take anything. I will take effort. I will take hard work. But don't you sit there and bold-faced lie to me about what I see on TV, about what I see in the game. I see a man running around there with no idea how to block, with basic blocking skills. So Keith Carter, you out.
And I was like you. I was kind of torn on him whenever I was looking over the coaches, because you did, you helped me out today, sent me an outline of what we were going to be doing. And I was thinking, man, we got a couple of guys who have played well under him. But, like I said, the biggest determining factor is when he was sitting there day after day and was just talking up Dennis Daly. I can't take that.
It makes me throw up in my mouth.
Especially considering Raiden's got in the game this past Raiden's got in the game this past game. And when he was out there, he was playing so much better. And of course, injuries. But
well, we all agree, and most of us agree in the chat, Keith Carter is a go. So we'll move on to our next victim, and that would be one of my personal favorites, Frank Perino, the strength and conditioning coach. Tyler, go or no?
Bye-bye. Gone. I mean, something's got to change here. Like 2 years in a row. I mean, I honestly, with how this season's been going with injuries again, wouldn't be surprised if we broke our own record on players used. And when you have, I understand injuries are a part of football. I mean, they are. And you have some just kind of freak non-contact injuries with the ACLs and stuff like that. But when guys are consistently having the same injury over and over and over again, you got to start looking at your strength and conditioning coaches and got to go. Get him going.
As you said, injuries happen. It's football. It's going to happen. They are not supposed to happen at this magnitude. This man is the worst strength and conditioning coach in professional sports. In the last 2 years, he has basically built up almost 90 plus different players through injuries. And that's probably going to be the case this upcoming year. You could walk in the damn practice facility and tear your ACL. You could pour a cup of Gatorade and end up breaking your hand. This is how badly they are mistrained. This is how badly they are unprepared to play the game. I understand Mike Vrabel's idea of what he wants. He wants his guys to be physical. They have to be trained properly in order to match that physicality. I shouldn't have to worry about these guys practicing and getting hurt. People are talking about the new stadium, about this potentially being an artificial turf field. They're worried about injuries there. Hell, we're getting hurt on the damn field we're practicing on now. You're worried about that? I'm worried that they can't walk in the damn facility and not sprain an ankle. So, sir, you are a fool. And I say this without any hesitation. A full go.
Couldn't have said it any better. And I feel like I should have brought more intensity to mine for it because, just you talking about, and I'm with Ryan Harris. This is the first time I've ever seen the dude's face. Or actually, when I looked him up earlier today, and I was like, man, you're the reason for a lot of this. Like, now the more I look at him, the more I'm like, you got a punchable face. Like, putting our team through this. Like,
and I mean, Lou Man changed his mind, but I'm still going to just explain a little further because, Lou Man's a fan favorite here, and we just definitely want to make sure everybody gets the benefit of the doubt why we go this way. It's about consistency. The best teams in the NFL and the ones that go deep in the playoffs are the ones with the least injuries. Mm-hmm. The least injured teams last year, 3 of them went to their respective championship games. 1 of them won the Super Bowl. That's what the cost of a great strength and conditioning program is. If you get these guys physically prepared to play the game, then they can do it. But if you're not preparing them right throughout the offseason, throughout the regular season, you're setting them up to fail. And this is basically the 3rd year in a row where we've watched this team just get decimated. Mike Vrabel wants a physical team. Well, you got to have a strength and conditioning coach that can get your guys prepared to play that physical. And you can't tell me that it's not possible. Kansas City does it. Los Angeles did it last year. The Cincinnati Bengals did it last year. It's very capable and it's very doable.
And just to add to that, a couple of former Titans that I've kind of kept up with just a little bit. We know because, like you mentioned, the Titans, Vrabel wants these guys to be physical and play that physical brand of football. Last year, we got to see Roger Saffold go down at least once per drive because he was hurt. Now he's up in Buffalo, and yeah, there's been a few times he's went down and maybe had to miss a play or two, but Roger Saffold seems to be doing better, and he's with a different team, different strength and conditioning coach. AJ Brown,
Yeah,
had trouble when he was here.
Yeah.
Guess who's not really having any troubles in Philadelphia and is putting together one hell of a season? AJ Brown. One of the big differences,
strength and conditioning.
Strength and conditioning. I mean, that because I see these players go on, and I'm like, man, that right there, Vrabel and anyone making this decisions about who is on this coaching staff should be able to look at these former players that have went on to different teams and see, hey, they're not getting injured where they are now. They're still playing physical like I wanted them to. Maybe we need to evaluate our strength and conditioning coach.
And that's a pretty quick evaluation from everybody in the chat and everybody right here discussing it. Frank Perino, you are a full 100% go. Hitting our next victim on the lineup. And, of course, it's got to be Rob Moore, the wide receivers coach. So I'm sure there's some reservations here on this one, but Tyler, we'll let you start it out. Rob Moore, go or no?
Oh, man. I knew when I was looking today, I was like, yep, he's going to ask about Rob Moore. And, man, I'm torn on this one, especially this year because, we have guys out there right now that really we shouldn't have to rely on in the situations that they're put in. I'm going to say, man, this one's tough. For right now, I'm going to say no. And that's really about as far as I can go with it because, like I said, I've been back and forth. I can see it either way, but like Ryan says with his comment that he says no because it's the talent that's the issue. And I think that's where I've been all day with it is, like I said, the guys we have out there playing, they're not guys that, even if they went to other teams, they may not make the field with the other teams. So I'm going to stick with no.
All right. And Ryan definitely makes his comment on no. So 2 no's right now. Lou Man goes no on this one. I'm going to have to say go. And it's very simple. I understand the talent is very thin at this position. I understand that you can only do so much with so little. But let me ask you this. Give me the best wide receiver coach in the NFL. Put those receivers in a room with him. What's going to happen? I guarantee at least two of them are going to be at least good or elite. I guarantee you that they're going to compete at a higher level and they're going to go out and try and make plays because they understand what is expected of them. I hold the coaches more accountable than the players because the coaches are teachers. Teachers always should be held more accountable. Now, talent-wise, Rob Morris had a good group of talent in there. And granted, unfortunate circumstances such as injuries and missing games is one of those situations. But realistically, I need to see more. It's not about what you have. It's not about what you have. It's what you do with what you have. And if the Titans can elevate themselves at this position going forward, I think that's something they need to do. And Ryan brings up a good point. If they Cody Hollister better, then by all means get Rob Moore out of here. And Ryan, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's always going to be a mystery, and that's always going to be something that we can debate on. But realistically, I know if I took those wide receivers and I gave them to the best wide receiving coach in the NFL, that he'd get at least a few of them to be serviceable or good or maybe even elite. One of them could be at least.
I think you bring
elevation.
I think you bring up great points there. And, you know, that's, again, looking through a lot of these, like I told you, Rob Moore was one of the tougher ones that I had because I'm looking at it from both sides. And, you know, you still have a guy like Robert Woods who's shown what he can do in this league. Yeah, he's coming back from injury this year, but still, like, out of all the guys you have with, you know, Burks being out, Woods is your most talented receiver. If your coach can't get something going with him, then I can see where your point there.
I mean, change is inevitable. I mean, let's be honest. Since this franchise has arrived in this state, have we really ever just had that one wide receiver that's broke out and just made a huge difference that we didn't trade away?
I was about to say, yeah, we have, but
yeah, I was going to get that jab in before somebody came in with a receipt. It's been a position that has just been a nightmare for this team, and it has just been a revolving door. It's like we think we get somebody, and they just don't pan out, or they just get hurt too often. It's just embarrassing at this point. And if it means going out and finding another coach at this position to help elevate some of these guys and potentially get the receivers in the future to be better, that's the risk I'm willing to take. But moving on to our next victim, and I'm sure we're going to get a few words in on this. Tyler, I don't even need to make an introduction on this one. I'm just going to sit here and let everybody go wild. So, Tyler, go for it.
So, the thing that immediately comes to mind, I think back to watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And when Jazz is in the house, Uncle Phil comes up, just grabs him, takes him to that front door, and chunks his ass out the house. That is exactly how I feel. And I know none of these changes are happening till the offseason, if they do happen. But that needs to be, I'm almost torn to say which move needs to be made first, him or the strength and conditioning coach being thrown out like that. Hell, grab them both at the same time and throw them out the door. Just go, 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 go. Get him out. And I talked about the strength and conditioning coach having a punchable face. Todd Downing, you've had me mad enough a couple of times where I probably would have thrown hands on site. Just, yeah.
We don't condone violence on this show, but just for the sake of argument, at the last 4 weeks, I'm willing to just say anything at this point is understandable. So
yeah,
I'm going to get that disclaimer out quickly.
yeah. So don't do that, people. Don't do it. Hey, find just yell if you have to, just yell out. But yeah, Todd Downing, this is one of the easiest ones on the list. Go. And I like that comment by Ryan Harris.
I enjoy that very much. Oof. I'm just reading some of these comments before I get to my take. And I mean, Lou, man, I question a lot of those 3rd and 2 calls because there's a lot of them. I question the 3rd and 17s, the 3rd and 20s, the 3rd and 19s. I mean, it's not that I'm trying to fire somebody here. I'm not about that. But realistically, you're hired for a job, and the job is to progress and move forward. Todd Downing is the polar opposite of progress and moving forward. Todd Downing is like the margarine of offensive coordinators. He's the Diet Coke of offensive coordinators. Quit trying to tell me he's good, because he's not. He's the poor substitute of the real thing. He's the Splenda of offensive coordinators. I don't have to sit here and tell every play that he's botched, every bad decision that he's made. It's inconsistency. It's the fact that this man once had the Oakland Raiders offense that held Amari Cooper and Derek Carr and a really good running game with a really good offensive line and decimated it. And now he's come here. And in 3 years' time, we've seen an offense that was progressively one of the best in the NFL turn into basically just a practice squad. I guarantee you, I could take them out to a D3 college, and at least one of those teams is scoring on them nonstop. I'm tired of talking about Todd Downing. Todd Downing to me is like a case of diarrhea that just won't leave. I take Pepto, I take Imodium, and it's just not leaving. I can't take the inconsistency. I can't take the basic vanillaness of his offense. I can't take the misuse of Derrick Henry week in and week out. I'm tired of watching the Tennessee Titans become a damn graveyard for the talent they amass. They did it with Steve McNair. They did it with Eddie George. They did it with Chris Johnson. Now they're doing it with Derrick Henry. And let's be honest, I know some Titan fans aren't big on Ryan Tannehill, and that's fine. But have we really had that many good quarterbacks come through the last decade? And maybe he's the best one that we've had since that decade's just kind of just pissed through. And look what Todd Downing's done to him. If you're trying to win Super Bowls, you're not going to do it with Todd Downing. And I don't know how I could say that any more plain or clearly. And shout out to Titans and Truth for joining us on the show. He's the store brand version of the worst food. Truth, I mean, honestly, he's like the Dollar General version of that, if there is such a thing. He's the Save-A-Lot version or the Safeway version. So I'm pretty sure for the most part, everybody's in on the same perception of what we have here. So strawberry jelly to me is the best that we still see.
I feel like, and man, this reference just, it hits a little bit different after the Titans' last win. He's like non-alcoholic beer. Don't taste good, and you don't get, just, by the way, everyone, obviously drink responsibly. Go ahead and put that disclaimer out there. But yeah, he's like the non-alcoholic beer. The bad taste without any of the buzz. There's no good. So
I will let you in on a fun fact. If you can sit down and stomach it, it takes about 50 of those to actually get a buzz. So food for thought, I'm not condoning any of that actions from anybody on the show. I'm just saying, fun fact, I wouldn't try it, but fun fact. So take what you want with it.
I'd almost rather try that versus watch Todd Downing call another season as the Titans offensive coordinator.
I'd rather have that orange-wigged kicked in the nuts dude basically come to my house at a random time and kick me in the nuts than have to watch him play call for another game at any random time of the day. Lou Man brings up a good point. Remember the Vikings of the 70s, we are them. I mean, unfortunately, Lou Man, they got to a Super Bowl in that era. In fact, they got to a few of them. They just never shut the deal. They never closed the deal. So I'm pretty sure this one's just, we've already made our decision on this one. So we'll move forward to our final and last one. And of course, no surprise, because I've got to ask the big question. So Tyler, go or no?
Right now, no. I mean, look back at last year, how Vrabel was able to rally this team. So many injuries, still get that 1 seed. Even this year, dealing with everything. For the most part, found a way to make it work. Still got to find a way to right the ship for these last 3 weeks. Right now, no. But I do have to say, if he stays too stubborn and sticks with Downing and the strength and conditioning coach and keeps sticking with them, then there's got to be a different conversation. I need Vrabel to show that he's willing to move on from Downing and some of the guys that he's picked because he sees that they're not working out. But right at this minute, no, Vrabel stays.
And getting to some of our comments, Truth says bottom out, miss the playoffs, or Vrabel is like malarkey and refuses to fire Downing. Hell yes, he must go. Ryan says no, but with an asterisk. If he can't let go of most of his staff, particularly Downing, he has to go. And I mean, that just seems to be the general consensus right now. Curiosity sharing those. Oh, I'm sorry. Truth said that. I'm sorry. My apologies. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Vrabel hasn't learned from Malarkey's mistakes. Carrie says I say we keep Mike V, but the decision he's made in staffing is concerning at the moment. And it just seems general consensus. And I mean, I'm one of those people as well. I'm fine with Vrabel keeping his job, but it's going to come at a cost. It's going to come at basically the end of the year where he sits down with Amy, and it's going to come to a choice. It's like, we are going to go and compete and try and win a Super Bowl. We want you to be a part of this, but changes are going to happen. This isn't asking, this is telling. Changes are going to come. And you can be a part of it, or we're going to move on and do it without you. Because at the end of the day, this is Mike Vrabel's team for the moment. But his choices matter. He is the leader. Amy has vied for him over John Robinson at this point. And it is in this situation that he is at his own crossroads. We'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
This is his crossroads. And if you're going to preach the crossroads, I'm going to preach it right back. You can either keep this team the way it is, and Amy's going to make her decision. Whatever she says is going to be final. And my guess is if you stay the course you're going to stay, just like Jeff Fisher, just like Mike Mularkey, who wanted things done their way, wanted to bring in people their way, we're moving on without you. We want you to be a part of the Tennessee Titans. But if you're not willing to change, then there's no room for you here. And that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like, because this is something that me and you have talked about throughout the season, and you've, in talking about it, he's not going to make the changes in the season as bad as we may want him to. It's just not going to happen. But he has made some comments when asked about it that, they'll evaluate the coaches after the season's over. And then decisions will be made. I'm just really hoping that Mike Vrabel makes the right choices. I know A to Z has talked about it with like Shane Bowen. The 2020 Titans defense, how bad it was, then how it turned around last year. Big difference was that Bowen was actually given the keys to the defensive coordinator position. Todd Downing. Vrabel seen what he did in 2021. Gave him another shot this year. It's not working out. This is where you have to make the right decision. Pull the plug on the Todd Downing experience and find someone else.
And that's what makes a great coach. Adaptability. The ones that stay in the game the longest are the ones that make the most changes. And staff changes instantly. There's plenty of great coordinators out there. There's plenty of great up-and-coming coaches that can have that opportunity. You can be wrong. My problem with Mike Vrabel is it's like he doesn't want to be wrong. You're allowed to make mistakes. That's part of the job. Not fixing those mistakes is what's critical and ends careers. So it's simple. Your crossroads is here. And it's going to come down to you making these decisions. Do you want to stay on this team? Do you want to get to the promised land that you said that you wanted to get this team to the levels of eliteness that was promised? Or are you just going to be another body on the hill? That's all there is to it. The Tennessee Titans are going to be the Tennessee Titans. You just have the opportunity to make the necessary changes. And I'll throw this little tidbit in as well. There's a new GM coming in real soon. And most GMs, they're either going to work well with the head coach or they're not. And believe me, the new guy, I'm sure there's somebody that he wants to bring in more than you being there. So play nice.
Gotta agree.
This game turned a little chippy.
We knew it would.
We had a lot to get out, so I understand completely, but it got a little chippy at the end, so I'm glad we did get that out before we get to our final segment. And of course, talking about Titans Chargers, believe me, guys, it's a Band-Aid. We'll rip it off. We'll feel better once we do it. But let's take a quick 30-second breather, and when we come back, Titans Chargers, damn this 4-game losing streak. Let's please end it. But let's catch our breath for 30 seconds. I'm Michael Bishop with the Power Hour, and we'll be back in 30. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. We are on a 4-game losing streak. I'm sick of it. I'm angry. I don't know how to control myself. I'm just a seething kettle of rage. And sitting next to me is another seething kettle of rage, Tyler from Titans Time Podcast. And thank you for joining me on the stove right now. We're heating up and getting ready to blow this lid off the top.
Man, it's been boiling for the last 4 weeks, and yeah, the pot's boiling over now. Just absolutely no excuse for it. And I want to hit on this before I forget, because I know you and Lou Man hit on it. The calls on 3rd and 2. You know what? I can live with some of the calls on 3rd and 2. One of my biggest problems with it is the personnel decision when you bring Henry off the field on that 3rd and 2, or on any 3rd and 2, and you're pretty much telling the defense there's not really much of a threat of a run here. We're going to throw it. I don't care if you want to play action to Henry and throw it on 3rd and 2. At least keep him out there to be a distraction for the defense. And if you do hand it to him, you got a 6'3", 6'4", 250-pound running back who, as long as he's not getting hit as soon as he gets handed the ball, he's falling forward for 2 yards. Just keep him out there. It gives you so many more options. And I hate seeing games where our defense goes out and is able to do what they need to do to either give the offense chances or keep them in the game. And the offense just pisses it away.
Yeah.
That is, honestly, before the game started yesterday, and I know I talked to you about how, when the regular season gets here, it's hard for me to pick against the Titans before that regular season game. If you want my honest opinion on how I think games are going to go, you usually get that before the season starts when I do a season prediction. But when the games are coming every week, I'm rolling with the Titans. I'm picking them. Always feel like they have a chance. Going into this game, though, I broke that. I picked the Chargers to win. I figured it was going to be an easy win for them. Wasn't going to let the game get to me. But when we're sitting there in a close game with opportunities to put it away, and we can't do it, the Titans pull me right back in to being to where the game just pisses me off.
Agreed. And I'm about ready to go on my rant. And I'm going to make this clear. I can take losing. I can take close games. I can take blowouts. I can take just about anything you throw at me because I've played the game. I understand that I've lived through it from a lower standpoint, but you don't forget about that. I can deal with Todd Downing. I can deal with Vrabel's stubbornness. I can deal with the defense not playing that last possession at the level they needed to play to. I understand what's going on. However, if anyone has watched this show since it started, you know in April that I had been vying all draft long for one certain player. And I have put my reputation out there, and being a contributor for Titan Sized, I wrote that the Titans needed to get that player. So what do I see strut out on the field, ready to put this game away and out of reach, but the man that I have vied for all damn year in the opposing fucking jersey to consistently rub it in the face of all Titans fans. So once and again, Dicker the Kicker, the man that I have vied for all year, basically just kicks us in the face. And this one, I will not be pleasant about this. I am not going to take this with a grain of salt. I am beyond pissed. That's salt in the wound. And I looked at my wife after that happened and I said, God, I hate being wrong. God, I hate being right on the wrong side of things. I hate being right on the wrong side of things. If anything else in this game happened, I would have been happier if they just picked the ball off and ran it in the end zone. This, to me, was the coup de grace of the shitstorm that we have been going through for the last 4 weeks.
And the bad thing to add to it even more is this wasn't his first game-winning kick.
No.
He's done it other times.
This was his third. So, John Robinson, in advance, wherever you are, enjoying your buyout, I hope someone chucks an apple at your head. Because it wasn't like that you couldn't have signed him. He didn't even get drafted. He bounced around a couple times, and yet somehow in this year, he has kicked 3 game-winning field goals. Do kickers matter in this league? In these situations, hell yes, they do. And shout out to Ryan, 3 game-winning kicks with 2 different teams.
And Mike, I'm just going to tell you, watching him run out there, I don't know that there's ever been a guy that I was hoping in this one instance you were definitely going to be wrong about, that was just going to choke it away. Man, I wanted him to miss that kick. And I knew when he was running out there, I was thinking to myself, if he goes out there and makes this kick for a game winner, I knew this was going to be the point that you were going to be at. because even when we sit down for the mock draft, he was a guy that you wanted.
Consistently.
And, Bullock got hurt. We had I would have been fine with them signing him just to try and have him be one of the guys for the competition. Give him a shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I knew whenever he went out there, I was like, he's going to make this kick. And like you said, kickers matter in this league. Because guess what? The Chargers kicker, he made his field goal. Granted, it was easier, but more pressure in that moment.
But as a kicker, 40 to 50-yard field goals are something you need to hit every time.
And I
That's
see
your
people,
only job.
I see people, or have seen people talking about, oh, well, acting like, 50-yarders should just be give me's now. Let's see you go kick it. Guess what? I don't get paid. I don't get paid millions of dollars to go out there to do that. If I got paid millions of dollars to do that, then I'm expected to go out there and make the kick.
Titan Fox, I appreciate the support. And just for fun reference, one of the first mock drafts I ever did, I picked Traylon Burks. So I'll just shout that out. Whatever happens with it happens. But I definitely appreciate the endorsement. But, don't tempt me.
Hey, I told you got my vote.
I'm definitely glad I've got support on the show. So, I mean, hell, I couldn't have done worse than what John Robinson did the last few years. I'll give props where he did get some things right, but you just can't take too many risks and they not hit. So, I guess after we've now ranted and got this out of our system, including me, because believe me, I've been sitting on that chimney for a little while. The big question, what now?
Man. And I said this earlier in the show. I think going forward over the next couple of weeks, the biggest determining factor is going to be if Ryan Tannehill is able to play. I'm excited for before the season, hey, I'm excited for the potential of Malik Willis. And I do think in the games that Malik has played, you can tell he's getting more confidence about him. And he's getting a little bit better. But what it comes down to right now for this team is Ryan Tannehill gives them, even on a bum ankle, gives them the best chance to win. If Ryan Tannehill isn't going to be out there, I'm not saying you have to surrender the rest of the season and give up. But at the same time, I don't want to see other star players for us getting hurt, while also knowing that we could end up in a better draft spot to potentially get maybe a better piece.
And that, even with that argument, it's like right now the Titans are sitting at 20.
Yeah.
Unless they plan on making a huge trade up, I don't see them getting any higher than maybe 15th at this point.
Yeah.
So the big question is, how bad is it? And we're not going to know. they're going to keep that under wraps and in the dark as much as possible. So it just depends on his comfortability with it, his mobility with it, and I just don't see a lot, especially with the fact that he's been dealing with this all season long, and now it's just going to be a bigger hindrance. So if Malik had to go, I feel fine with him going against the Texans because he's already faced them. He has the experience. I don't feel too uncomfortable with that situation. I'm fine with him if he has to go the rest of the year, if that's what it takes. Because, I mean, at some point, we got to see what we got.
True.
Because there's going to be some big decisions coming up next year, and we need to see if he's going to be a big part of them. So it doesn't hurt to see what you have. But the two things that concern me with that, can the offensive line stay consistent enough for him to not get killed out there?
Mm-hmm.
And two, I don't want Todd Downing to do anything with Malik Willis. I don't want him near him. I want a restraining order put on Todd Downing against Malik Willis. The only person that needs to be working with Malik Willis is Tim Kelly, and I will take that to the grave.
I agree on that. And for some reason, I hadn't actually thought of, with Malik, if he's out there starting for us, keeping Downing away from him because of what he can do. But my first thought goes to the offensive line, because at this point, with Dennis Daly being our left tackle, I also hate the thought of even throwing Willis out there just for him to get killed from someone coming from Dennis Daly's side. Like, Willis he's our young project right now. Like, do we really, as bad as I'm nervous to put anyone behind our O-line right now.
On the left side, at least.
Yeah. So, and, yes, Willis can, with Tannehill being banged up, Willis can escape the pocket better. I think even when Tannehill's healthy, Willis can probably escape the pocket better than him. But with as quick as some of these guys are getting back there, especially coming from his blind side, escaping the pocket isn't always going to be an option. And you can only take so many of those big shots on the blind side.
I mean, we'll know more as the week goes along, but I do feel it's going to be a situation that's going to be shrouded in secrecy. Mm-hmm. Because that's just how Mike Vrabel works. And apparently he's just learned how to manipulate the system and injury report up until the very last minute. So we need some good things happening. I mean, we need some Christmas gifts, in the form of Danico Autry, and Traylon Burks coming back would be a big help. Mm-hmm. So one could hope that that's the situation there. Christian Fulton's going to be a big question mark. Amari Hooker's going to be a big question mark. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that's going to come into play, but realistically, it's just going to come down to whatever happens. And I mean, I can't say this team's going to miss the playoffs. I can't say they're going to make the playoffs either. It's just whatever they're going to do, they have to do it now. The sense of urgency.
At this point, as Titans fans, we just need to be happy with whatever way it goes. Don't get our hopes up too much for the remainder of the season, but at the same time, don't give up all hope, because we're at more of a crossroads now than we were a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And it's going to be it's quicksand at this point. We've been sinking and we've been kicking and struggling and just sinking even further. Somewhere along the line, somebody's got to grab a hold of something and just start pulling. Where the Titans are going to finish the season, it's going to remain a big unknown. Are we going to get guys back in time? Is it going to make a difference? I mean, that'd be a nice Christmas gift, but at this point, there's a lot more questions than answers. And it's just something we've been dealing with for the last 4 weeks. And realistically, nothing would make me more happy than to come on the show next Monday and discuss a win, because it just feels like a millennia since we've actually had that opportunity to do that. But to finish out the show, I will leave you with some positive feedback and some slightly uplifting news. So, as of right now, Metro and the Tennessee Titans are in discussions with trying to finalize the final plan for the new stadium. And that could come to a vote as early as tomorrow. So we may know the very fate of the future home of the Tennessee Titans. And I'm not going to get into the whole politics of, money, where it should be spent and everything. This is basically, if any fan knows and understands, it's going to cost just as much or even more to refurbish the stadium we have now. So realistically, I'm fine with the idea. I'm fine with the design. I'm fine with the future of all of it, because really there was a lot of love, care, and just necessity put here for fans. And realistically, I feel it's going to be a situation that passes, and it's going to be just kind of a little bit of good news to move forward on. So, Tyler, I'll let you put your thoughts in on this, knowing that there could be a potential vote on a stadium moving forward by tomorrow.
I mean, I'm right there with you. We know. Here's the. We know that either they have to spend just as much money to refurbish Nissan Stadium, or they can put that money towards a new stadium. Got to go with the new stadium. Going to bring a better fan experience, everything else. And I mean, here's the, you go back to the 2020 year, you have all of these players talking about how weird it is being out on the field without that many fans, or in some cases, no fans at all. It's weird. So a stadium that is going to have a better fan experience, plus, if you want to look at the money stuff, this new stadium compared to Nissan Stadium, going to bring a whole lot more money to Nashville in the long run.
And they're pushing for the tourist tax. The main reason of funding this stadium is basically that they're putting a tax in place on all the hotels and even in bars where tourists are paying more and funding this. So I won't go into a lot of details, but that's just the basic necessity of it. Realistically, you're talking about bringing more income in, as you said. We're talking Final Fours, college football playoffs, college football national championships, the WWE. We're talking potentially getting key soccer matches in, the Super Bowl, the Final Four. There's endless possibilities here. And realistically, we need a win here. And I feel like this is a situation, if they vote yes and this thing goes through, this is a huge win for the fan base. This is just a situation where we can actually come out of this month with a damn win, and we need one badly. Ryan here is saying it would be nice to watch Dennis Daly, Todd Downing in the new stadium. I mean, if they got tickets, they can watch. That's about the only the only way they're getting in the new stadium.
What are we going to watch them do? Make the burgers and everything? Because I definitely don't want to watch them out on the field. So maybe
maybe they could start a 2-man band and perform at halftime on that new stage that they're building up there on the top mezzanine.
Clean bathrooms, something.
I mean, somebody's got to clean the toilets. Might as well be them.
I'm sure they can find a way to not do a good job of that.
If you find a way to mess up cleaning a toilet, then I just don't have any hope for you as a human being. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the show tonight. It's because of you and your support that the show continues to find success, grow, and just have an amazing, amazing chance to continue to be one of the best shows out there because of you. Give yourselves a round of applause. You deserve it. It's because of you that we find this one of the reasons that we continue to come back and make shows for you. So thank you so much. And of course, I got to give a shout out to Tyler of Titans Time Podcast for joining us tonight. It is fantastic to have you in on the show, man. Once again, bringing great insight, bringing it and keeping it lively. So thank you once again. And also, make sure you give the fans a shout out and let them know where to find you on all your great platforms and with all your great content.
Yeah, and again, thank you for having me on. Always a blast coming on here with you, cutting up, talking about the top news, the Titans, just everything going on around the league. And yeah, find me YouTube, Titans Time Podcast. Finally got over 500 subscribers. Had a goal to try and hit between 800 and 1,000 before the end of this year. That's going to take one hell of a push to make that happen. But also find the audio version of the podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just type in Titans Time Podcast. And social media, TikTok at Titans Time, Twitter at Titans_time, Instagram, Titans Time Podcast, Facebook, Titans Time. And again, thanks for having me on, man. Always a blast being on here. So, yeah.
And as always, love having you on here, man. We'll get you in for if there's a playoff run, but we'll just wait and see what happens going forward. And of course, guys, don't forget, we are a member of the Titan Upload Network. And don't forget to follow all of us on our social media platforms. We can continue to grow and find great content and give you the information that you need. So make sure to check out Brian Johannes, of course, Titan Upload, Titans for Life, Ryan Harris of the Jump Pass Podcast, and of course, Titan Rossi on all their respective channels. We're out there to give you the best Titans football experience available. We are the Titan Upload Network. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight. Because of your support, the show continues to grow because you show the love. And of course, as always, don't forget to follow me on all my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok profiles at the Power Hour 615. And also make sure that you have a good night tonight. We'll get you out of here, get you watching Monday Night Football. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We'll be back the 26th. Happy holidays to all of you from all of us at the Power Hour. As always, take care and tighten up.
Tighten up.
Thank you for watching this live presentation of the Titan Upload Network.